mom or dad. One of them was like, are you stupid? Like, they were like, because if I tell you what I was earning salary wise, in the UK, I mean, you'd be like, what's
Why would
wrong
you
with
do
you?
that?
I'm not earning that amount even now. And I don't think I'll ever earn it because the salaries in terms of a pure salary, what I was looking at is the value of the business, right? What can the value of the business become?
Yeah.
But salary wise, I was like millionaire back
Yeah.
there in the UK, and I had everything going on for me in terms of I was living a luxurious life. I had a flat in central London by the river and
Wow.
spending money like, just I could spend, 20K shillings on a dinner and not even flinch. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
or in a night out, I'd spend 500 pounds, which is like 70, 80K. Not even flinch because, but then at the end of the day, and that's what, people would tell me at the time, you're leaving all of that for what here? You're not even going to pay yourself a salary. You have a little bit of saving. I said, you guys won't get it now. In my head, I said, you guys won't get it now, but I know where this thing can be.
Yeah. Hello, champions. Welcome back to another video. And today we have a very, very exciting guest with a super interesting background. Studied mechanical engineering in the UK. You worked in finance. And now you have a fashion brand.
Random.
I think all really exciting. So it's really dope to have you here today, Kushil.
Appreciate that.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Yeah.
So our first question is really of course, super hard yet super easy. So it's just, who is Kushil? Just give us a 2-minute rundown of who is this gentleman on the podcast today?
Sure. Yeah. Kushil Lakani. Most people call me Kush. Like Kush. that kind of Kush. But Kush also means happy in my language. So I think that resonates with me more than the other meaning. But I'm born and raised in Kenya, Wananchi kabisa. Moved over to the UK in 2011. Went to Bath University, did my mechanical engineering degree there. God knows how I made it through that degree because I don't know about engineering but somehow a lot of engineers after finishing engineering get into the business side of things. So that's what I did. That's the route I took. I think I was always, even when I was young, even before uni, I was one of those guys who was selling Credo, those scratch cards, selling that, making 50 bob for every 10, 50 shilling scratch cards.
Yes,
I would
on commission.
On commission. I would sit with my local kiosk lady on a Saturday and sell with her in the kiosk, sell cigarettes or whatever I have to sell in the kiosk. So I always had that spirit in me, and I knew that engineering was just an avenue to get into something. It didn't have to be engineering related. Then I came across this thing of management consulting. I didn't know what it was at the time when I was in uni, and I realized this is pretty cool. There's consultants who go and advise CEOs and founders of different businesses. And I used to think that how can me as a business owner listen to some consultant it's my business, I know more. What does this guy know?
No, about my business.
So then I came to realize that actually the consultants bring a different perspective, and the knowledge of the consultants is good for the business. And so I got into that, really built on my core business skills, process improvement, technology implementation, operations, strategy. These were things we were doing for other clients, and I realized, so this is how business actually runs. How functions come together, how people, process, and technology work together to make a business more efficient and scalable in essence. But it was still not enough. On the side, I was still involved with, side hustles and side gigs. And then, got into, I think we'll get into the story of Kitu Kali, but got into Kitu Kali whilst I was working there, doing it remotely, part-time from there, and then made the move back to Kenya at the end of 21 during peak COVID.
Okay.
And I've been here since.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
We actually realized that many businesses were founded during that COVID time. It was like an opportunity to switch from one sort of like area of your career to another.
So, it's super interesting you say that, because I think it's also that people realize that, I think just before COVID hit, the world as a whole was just going down this path of 9 to 5 work. That's life. You earn your paycheck, you go home. There was a very monotonous. And then COVID hit, and everyone realized that, like life can just stop all of a sudden. And so people were making bold decisions, drop everything, go travel the world, do things. And you're right. You're absolutely right. COVID was a turning point for sure.
Yeah. And just from the light conversation you've had, now you're at 6 stores, which I think is amazing.
Thank you.
One of the fastest growing retail brands in the Kenya and of course East Africa. But it wasn't always like this. It's actually started as a side hustle. So just walk us through how you conceptualize Kitu Kali and how's it journey like?
As I said, I was always a guy who was looking for the next idea, looking for the next opportunity. I do not, or I didn't at the time, care about fashion, or I didn't think there was some huge opportunity in fashion. But I was able to, so it was actually started by a couple of friends of mine and me, who came to me with this idea and said, when I was in Kenya on holiday, they were also Kenyans. And they were like, when I came to Kenya on holiday, I saw these shoes that were made out of African fabric. And I said, what do you mean shoes made out of African fabric? And then he was wearing them. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's very different. And I still didn't think much of it. Then he told me that, every time I wear these shoes, I'm in the London Underground, the tubes and the trains, and people are stopping me and saying, boss, where do you get these shoes from? So the entrepreneur in me said, okay, so there is something here where if a customer or a potential customer or someone is stopping you, that means it's something unique. What does that say? If something is unique, and it starts that whole thing of product market fit, right? People are giving you feedback. So I said, you know what? Let's do this together. I want to join you guys on this journey. Let's see what we can make of it. And we sat down one day. It was a table like this, actually, and late at night. We all had jobs at the time. I was a consultant. One was in finance. One was an engineer. Actually, one of them, and how I know them, was he studied with me engineering as well through uni. So we're very close friends, and they are two brothers. So then we all became, and we sat down, okay, what do we call it? We started things like different names. One was Viatu Kali, and then and I'm quite happy about this, because at the time where we had only shoes as an idea, I didn't think anything about apparel or anything. But I said to them, let's not limit ourselves to Viatu Kali. That will mean we'll stay a shoe brand, and then if we become something else, we'll have to change. But Kitu Kali is like, could be anything. We can even start selling alcohol if we wanted to. It could be anything.
It could be anything.
And that was like that thing of your business can change, right? I mean, it can be something in the beginning and it can evolve. So I just got into it with my two friends. We really were having fun. I would say it was a lot of fun, day in, day out, trying to build this brand, conceptualize it, the website, this, that. To be honest, nothing really worked in the beginning for a good few months. But what I liked about the three of us is we were not giving up. We were like, okay, so we need to get another credit card to fund now this next phase, and we were all willing to put in more money and just keep trying things, fail fast, fail, iterate. And, that's really how the brand was born. Initially, we thought it'll be a brand that we import shoes from Kenya and sell it in the UK.
Interesting.
But that was impossible as a new brand. I mean, even here as a new brand is so hard. Now imagine in the UK, where people are so used to the big brands and different budgets there are crazy. And so we said, okay, let's try Kenya as a market. And that's what kicked it off. And Kenyans were way more receptive to the brand. Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. I think also from our conversation, there's something which you mentioned, which was you didn't really jump out of the sort of like employment cliff immediately. You started this as a side hustle, and then you decided to just call it quits at some time and like build Kitu Kali full time. So how was that journey like, sort of like going from this is a full-time gig, this is a part-time gig, now let me make it full-time? Like what was that period like, and what did you see that made you jump?
It's a very interesting one, and it's something I strongly believe in, which is yes, if you have an idea and you want to go for it, do it, but make sure you have something stable, something that's bringing you income, because your venture, unless you're super lucky, unless tomorrow Beyonce will wear your t-shirt and post it on Instagram and overnight you're a millionaire, unless that happens, it's a long slog, right? I mean, even for you to get investment from investors, they have to see some traction. So have something stable and put in those extra hours, and people might not like what I'm about to say, but work-life balance, unfortunately, is not a thing in entrepreneurship. It's not. Maybe a bit down the line, it can start becoming a thing. But when you first start your venture, you have a job, you might have a family to attend to, but any hour in the day that you get, you can't say, I'll go for a walk in the park, to clear my head and meditate. No, unfortunately,
it's a luxury.
Too many things to do.
Too many things. And if you want to make it successful, right, the hours that you have outside of your 9 to 5 must go fully through and through into building your venture. So, it was more of, I was still naive, very naive at the time. I thought, you know what, 6 months, this business
We're going to be millionaires,
booming. Yeah, I'll quit the job. We'll be fine. 6 months, we were not even. We were negative. You know what I mean?
Wow.
You lose money because you're trying things. Those things are not bringing returns, and you're trying more things. And so we just kept at it. We kept learning from our customers. What are they saying? What do they like? What don't they like? How does the product look? What do we think the product should look like? Kept iterating. I think it was when we did a total of maybe like $30,000 in revenue in one whole year. I think that was like 2021 probably. And at the time I was like, wow, that's good. But it's not, right? I mean, it's not bad. I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's something. It's something. It was something enough for me to say, hang on.
It's like a spark.
It's like a little bit of a spark. And what really pushed it a little bit was about 10,000 of those dollars came from online from the UK and Europe. That really is what brought that aha moment for me. Which was
Europeans buying?
Exactly.
Or Africans in
not
Europe?
even diaspora. This was like what the most interesting thing about it. When I looked at the data, right, it was some guy in the middle of Scotland, a 45-year-old Mzungu guy, buying our shoes and loving them.
That's interesting. So when you talk about African print, is this what you mean?
Yeah.
What do you think is the thing about it that makes it very globally appealing? Because I've seen like on runways in New York and this, it's becoming a thing,
Yeah, it's the pattern, it's the colors, it's the vibrant nature of the fabric that makes it appealing. And this is what, coming back to this random guy in the middle of Scotland, he's probably thinking, sitting there like, wow, seeing an ad. And this was purely from ads, right? Like convincing someone through an ad. And he's probably seeing this and saying, this is cool. I like this shoe. Let me try it. And we were selling them for like £60 at the time. It's not a small amount of money. That's like 10K.
Yeah.
Even I'm embarrassed to say we were selling them for 10K at the time, because admittedly the quality wasn't great at the time. But these guys, and we still get those customers from 2021 asking for those shoes that we were selling at that time.
Gosh.
And I'm like, boss, like we've got some new sneakers, much better quality. I'm like, no, we like those. Those were authentic. Those were different. Classic. These Adidas and Nike and this, that, obviously they're different because we have the African print. But, that was when I was like, okay, so if they're these random guys buying from us, be it a small amount, and we're doing it part-time, we're doing it remotely, then I'm sure that if I quit my job at that point, and the luxury I had, which I'm sure other people do too, which is I'm not paying rent. I still stay with my family. Some people do, some people don't. And I've made that choice purposely.
Yeah.
So when I moved back, I had that luxury. I said, I'm not going to pay rent, and my bills are minimum. I stopped going out. I stopped buying useless things, and so I was like, the risk is minimal. And the downside, or if things don't work out, I had my previous employers who were like, we're sad to see you go.
Yeah.
But if things don't work, but we're happy that you're venturing into your own thing. I'm sure they probably thought at that time, this guy is an idiot. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's so true, because I think that's the sacrifice you have to make in entrepreneurship to start a business. Sometimes you have to pull back to pull forward.
Yeah.
And I was reading who's the story of the Spotify or the Shopify guy who moved into his
the
father-in-law's
fiance's, the wife's,
so that he could start his business.
Correct.
At that point you look stupid. No one understands what you're doing and why would you do that. But at the end of the day, they start realizing this guy was actually very visionary, so
to be very honest, one of my I won't say mom or dad, one of them was like, are you stupid? Like, they were like, because if I tell you what I was earning salary wise, in the UK, I mean, you'd be like, what's
why would you do that?
I'm not earning that amount even now, and I don't think I'll ever earn it, because the salary is in terms of a pure salary. What I was looking at is the value of the business, right? What can the value of the business become? But salary-wise, I was like millionaire back there in the UK, and I had everything going on for me in terms of I was living a luxurious life. I had a flat in central London by the river, and spending money like, just I could spend, 20K shillings on a dinner and not even flinch. You know what I mean? Like, or in a night out, I'd spend £500, which is like 70, 80K. Not even flinch, because, but then at the end of the day, and that's what, people would tell me at the time, you're leaving all of that for what here? You're not even going to pay yourself a salary. You have a little bit of saving. I said, you guys won't get it now. In my head, I said, you guys won't get it now, but I know where this thing can be.
Yeah.
And that's really what I wanted to get
and
it
in
to.
your mind, how long do you think it would, why you think it would take to get back to that lifestyle?
I thought it would be shorter than it is. Let's just put it that way. I thought by now I would have exited, and maybe a private equity deal would have come in by now. And,
I think like 3 years.
3 years from that time. But no, I'm actually comfortable and with the idea that, you know what, let me build more business value before I can think of, and it takes time. It does. Yeah.
And one thing I think I've seen just 2021 to now is like you've been able to also evolve the business. Like you started with shoes, and now you have like a whole product line. So just tell us the thinking through that, and maybe you can also mention the importance of just realizing maybe the vision you started out with is not what you might end up doing in the next 3-4 years, and that's still okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. So the apparel side of the business happened by chance, actually. It was when once we were going for one of these exhibitions, pop-up events, and we had a pop-up at the event. And I said, we're starting to become a bit known. People know us. Why don't we give our staff some hoodies that have just our logo, literally our logo written, And we gave them, the 3 or 4 staff that were there at the event, and maybe 10 or 20 customers who were buying were like, "Oh, you guys do hoodies? Do you have this hoodie right now? Like literally no African print, just the logo." And they're like, "Do you have that with the logo?" And that was another aha moment that people want a branded merchandise of Kitu Kali. I mean, that's crazy. I love it. So we said, okay, so let's start designing cool with the print and everything. And we launched hoodies at the next pop-up event that we did. Those sold out instantly. And, we were like, okay, this is working. So more hoodies started kicking off. Then we're like, let's try t-shirts.
Okay.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
That's the beauty of startups, right? You can literally sit in your office and you're like, you know what? Let's try this. Or like you're sitting with your team and they're like, why don't we try this? And you can make that decision. The next day you have a t-shirt sample in your office and you're like, yeah, cool, done. Put it online. And so that was great. And then t-shirts started kicking off, and then it was hoodies and t-shirts, mostly hoodies and t-shirts. And it's funny because even when we opened our first store in 2022, the Hub store, it was the whole store was just shoes.
Okay.
And we had one small railing there for hoodies and t-shirts. And that was it. So there's 90% footwear, 10% apparel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even just sometimes I actually get embarrassed looking at the photos now because it was like one type of shoe repeated like it was just shelves, same type of shoe. And this is like so key in terms of retail and as a fashion brand, the innovation, the variety you need to bring. For us, we thought variety was the same shoe in a different color. But that's not variety.
Yeah.
It's a different type of shoe or a different type of product, because retail is ruthless. The customer walks in today, they see the same thing in a month's time. They won't walk in the third time. They'll be like, these guys, they don't. Same. So the t-shirts and hoodies started doing well. And then it was when I brought on a full-time designer, a very talented guy called Kiswili. He's an artist. He's a visual artist and a footwear designer, very talented. And he brought in the idea of putting his own sort of hand-drawn art. He's known for this giraffe Twiga art. I mean, beautiful art. He's one of the guys who won the Art Cafe. Takeaway cup. You've seen the giraffe? Yeah, that's him. That's him. Shout out to Kiswili. So he sat in my office one day and he's like, a lot of customers ask me if for kids if we can put this giraffe on a t-shirt, and then I do it, I put it for them and I sell it, and I think it could work for Kitu Kali. And in my head I was like, Kiswili, really? Seriously, and then I think this is very key for sort of founders and owners of companies, like just be open to ideas, right? If I had shut it down in that office, and right now, I can tell you, t-shirts and graphic t-shirts, mostly what he's done is our top selling product.
Wow.
Yeah. So when it started from that conversation, like maybe only 9 months ago, not even that long ago. It was late last year. And I said, Kiswili, you know what, let's give it a go. And I even agreed to some sort of royalty structure with the guy, and maybe cut that part out. And I was like, it's okay. Well, royalty is signed, whatever.
Yeah.
Boss.
And
wow.
Like you weren't
it's taken off.
Yeah. I was like, and we launched them for kids. Just they were selling out. The shops didn't have stock. I was placing, bringing them in. And then the same guy, designer, sits in my office again. He's like, why don't we try it for adults? And that's when I was like, boss, are you high, man? Like this giraffe on an adult's t-shirt, seriously. Let's try it. I was like, sour, fine, let's try it. The kids are doing so well, maybe machi.
Yeah.
Oh man, the adults ones
it
kicked off. And it wasn't nothing to do with machi. Just tourists.
Okay.
And
found it interesting.
They found it interesting because they're not getting that typical Jumbo Africa, Kuna Matata, Big Five.
Yes.
It's a graphic. It's still an animal, but it's a cool graphic. Right?
Interesting.
And so
we're talking about this earlier, actually, and you've brought 2 points that are super critical. One is listening to your customers. Like the guy who said, I want Kitu Kali. Somebody would have said, I don't know, this guy might misrepresent my brand somewhere. I don't want him wearing it. Or you guys were open to it. You sold a lot of that. And then experimentation also.
Yeah.
Just trying different things. We talked about this earlier today, actually. Like, just try. You don't know what sticks. Whatever works, you push with it.
No, 100%. 100%. I mean, a lot of business people say it, right? It's like try, fail, but fail fast.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to know the limits to what constitutes success and what constitutes failure as well.
It's true.
Because yes, the t-shirts flew off the shelves like immediately. There's been other products we've launched and it's taken some time to pick up, and I'm almost giving up on that product, and then it starts picking up. So, having those parameters are super critical.
Super critical. And there's something which you've mentioned that I've heard from someone else before, which is that retail is ruthless.
Yeah.
So please explain what that means.
Retail.
Like, is it the sheer speed of the space? Like, what does that mean? And like, how have you guys been able to like just stay on top of that?
Put it this way, right? Mark, you own 6 stores.
Okay.
Right? you're paying an average rent, let's say, for argument's sake, 300K per store. Each store has 2 staff, maybe on an average of 30K. Do that math, right? You have other bills to take care of and everything. And the flooding starts, and malls are pretty much shut.
Yeah.
And you've got in your plan that it's 1st of June for me to make my expenses, make my payroll, because remember, it's not just your staff in the stores. You have a whole back office staff, the design, the marketing, the operations, warehouse. There's so many people involved to making those shops successful.
Yeah.
So you have the payroll of that. And then your mid-month, the flooding has started. Sorry to say, but maybe Ruto has increased some tax somewhere. Fuel prices have gone up. People don't have spending power. Things are shit. Yeah. You're looking at your numbers, and you're not, maybe in a day in your 6 stores, maybe one customer has made a purchase. Wow. And you're just like, what the hell?
Damn.
How will you break even this month?
How am I going to break even at the end of the month? So it really takes a certain type of person, I would say, really just to fight through that tough time, right? And be positive and not just sit around and be like, it's fine, and pray to God and be like, things will, but make changes, see what you can do, introduce a new offer, and maybe boost your online. Maybe people are not going to the malls, but they're online. So to answer your question, yes, it's ruthless in many ways. One of the ways is it's a big overhead. You're in 6-year leases with every mall. You don't know next year where you're going to be, what's going to happen. So there's a lot of risk at any point in time. And 6 stores is, yes, it's nice. Obviously, we want to double, triple that in the next coming months and years, but that risk just doubles, right? It's just an amplified risk. Now, the other thing about the ruthless aspect of retail is not just the reliance on people walking into your store and buying. It's you innovating constantly. So there is this constant thing in our company of what's the next product? What's the next product type? What's the next fabric? What's the next print? What's the next animal? Okay, today we have giraffe. Can we do the same thing with a lion? And, just constant innovation and that pressure to innovate. Right? Because, and I'm thankful, very thankful that I have a very strong board. And one of the people on my board is a retail guru. Yeah, his company has 60 or 70 branches across East Africa. So he knows what makes retail successful. And the one thing he drilled into me when he came on board at the end of 2021, he kept singing the song of variety, product innovation, variety. And at the time I was like, man, we're killing it. We're doing so well. Why you? And we weren't doing well. In retrospect, in hindsight, we weren't. But at the time, I was like, man, you keep pushing this agenda of like, okay, we'll innovate. Okay, we'll create a new color now. And he would say, that's not innovation. Something different. And he said, mark my words, you will remember this. That, the more you innovate, the more your stores will do well, the more retention you'll have, because the key to retail is customer retention. How many customers are coming back every month and buying? If you have less of that, then you're relying on new customers,
which is expensive.
And a lot of the new customers might be expats or tourists who are not here for long.
One time.
And then February, March, tourist season is low. So what are you going to do in those months, right? So the ruthless aspect of retail is the continuous pressure to innovate. And then the huge risk of the reliance on the malls to bring people in.
I think that's really, really powerful, and you've summed it up well. There's Reid Hoffman always says, sometimes when you're building a business, you have to realize what got you here is not what will get you there. So what gets you to like your first, like 1,000 sales isn't what will get you to your next like 10,000, 100,000 sales. So
absolutely,
there's something you're also doing online, which I feel is really dope, like having an online presence, leveraging on social media. So maybe you can just talk about that and how it's also assisting to make your brand reach audiences where, maybe you won't have footfall in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think online and starting off as an online brand for a good 3 years before we ventured into offline and retail has significantly helped the brand. I can tell you that, because when we open a new store in a new location, from day one, customers will be like, those are the guys I see online. Let me step in. We're not relying on the first few customers who have seen something come in and then they buy maybe one item and then they tell their friend, oh yeah, go to this store. That's there and that's good, but that takes 2-3 months. That's why in retail, typically they say you start a new store, maybe 6 months you'll start breaking even on that store if you look at the P&L of that store. And then through time, for us, touch wood, we've been lucky enough, as soon as we open a store, that store starts to do well straight away. And I think a big part of that is the social media. And the way we look at social media is maybe a bit different from most people. Is we want to provide value and entertainment to our customers, to our followers, and if they so happen to buy because they saw a nice reel, great. I'm not relying on that. But what we then have in the back end, which is the machine of the ads, Facebook ads, is a separate. We look at it as two different channels. There's the organic side and there's the paid side. The organic side, if I ever see a caption that says, buy our t-shirt now, I'll call my social media guys and be like, guys, no. We're not telling people to buy our stuff. But show them how to style a Kitu Kali t-shirt in 5 different ways. I love that. And so we use a lot of UGC type content, user generated content. It's not actually our customers creating the content, but we're engaging content creators and micro influencers, not even like the big macro influencers that you pay $10,000 a post or whatever. I don't even believe in those. It's like, you have 3,000 followers, but your content is super creative. You come up with new ways to engage your audience and you add value. We'll use you. Create some content for us. So we do a lot of that. On the organic side. And I don't know, it's very hard to track if that is bringing sales and conversions. But at the end of the day, like I said, I don't really care if it is, because that's not where I'm relying on to bring in my sales on the online side. But I know for a fact that customers are noticing it, are looking at it, are engaging with it, are liking it. Maybe when they're passing my store in Sarit, they'll be like, they'll walk in because they'll be like, that's that somewhere. Cool brand, that I'm seeing online that I follow already. But the paid side of the social media, that's a machine of buy, like shop now. Like that's the call to action. This is the product. It looks cool. You might have seen my organic stuff where we're doing some cool shit. But now buy.
No, this is buy.
Now buy. Like you Google us. You close your phone. You come back on Instagram. You will see an ad from me. Facebook, you'll see an ad. We will bombard you until you buy.
Oh gosh.
You know what I mean?
How do you think about targeting actually? Because and what's the share of wallet that you're trying to get? Because you're selling clothing, which is a basic need, but it's also not just typical clothing. It's different.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And I haven't admittedly jumped into my ad account recently. I used to run all the ads obviously before. But I do know that our marketing guys are, as in, so one thing, when you go onto your Instagram and you boost a post, that is not marketing. That is not marketing. That is just a very quick and easy way of saying, oh, these are my target market, put this budget, get a bit of awareness. That is not marketing. Like media buying, which is the real sort of digital ad media buying side of things, that that is a skill, and it's all about using data and the feedback you're getting and the data you're seeing on link clicks, on this, on that, to then optimize and inform. So targeting can be any and everything. Like we target certain types of, like we might have seen that people who like hip hop buy from us. It's an example. So then we'll target more people that like hip hop.
Okay.
We might have seen an example of people who've checked into, when you check in on Facebook or location on NSK. right?
Okay.
Those are the kind of people, so we'll target them. And then you have lookalike audiences, right?
Okay.
Like you can tell Facebook.
Really smart. If this person likes this, I might.
Yeah. It's a completely different way of thinking of targeting.
Yeah.
It's not the typical, someone who likes fashion.
Yeah.
Like you said, that everyone is targeting that person, right? But if you're thinking of the different ways of, you have to personify your customers. It's very important. When you personify your customers, you know what kind of customer buys from you. And there's obviously different types of customers. Then you can create ad sets that target those. And the more ad sets you create, the better it is, because you're testing more angles.
Yeah.
And then you know which one is working, which one is not. And then you zero down on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's media buying. That's the skill of media buying.
And for you guys, how, like, it's deeper, is how do you know those personas?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a few ways you can know that. I think at a basic level, you get information from Facebook, data from Facebook of, this person is between this age group, male, female, where they are from, Nairobi, different parts of Kenya. That's like basic demographic information. You can do post-purchase surveys, which is a very powerful thing, where you say, hey, do you want 5% off your next order? Just fill in these details. And that's a very important thing, especially in today's day where attribution online is not very accurate. When iOS 14 or something made the iPhone made their huge update where they were stopped giving Facebook tracking data. I mean, that was we saw performance drop by 70% across the board. Yeah, especially because at that time we were targeting UK and Europe. A lot of our revenue was coming from there.
Okay.
And in those countries, iPhone is like 70%. Here it's like 50-50. So we were still lucky here. But when at that point you use post-purchase surveys, you ask them, how did you hear about us? What type of person are you? Where do you like hanging out? Like you can ask a lot of different questions and get that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, your 6 stores, Kitu Kali, many of my friends Kitu Kali, and you guys are doing an amazing job. But I'm just curious now, what really keeps Kushil up at night? Where do you want to take the brand? What just gives you sleepless nights?
And my nature of being an aggressive, growth-minded person is sometimes my downfall, because what happens is, 6 stores, there's so much we can do even within the 6 stores, and which will take a bit of time, but to maximize them and grow them. But I'm just not one to sit around. I'm just not one to sit around. So what keeps me up at night is, okay, where can we open next?
Okay.
What market can we open? What product can we launch?
Yeah.
What thing can we do to just continue this growth? I have targets in my own mind, and obviously from a company perspective, we have our targets, and every time we hit targets, it's like I don't celebrate.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, but now we need to increase the target. That target is not good enough because I'm not sitting on a yacht right now. I'm still at home. I'm still slogging my way. I'm still doing 12, 14-hour days, like what will get me to financial freedom? And there's a big process. So I'm always thinking of the next thing. Where can we open next? What market is next? Just to really take Kitu Kali. I would say global is obviously the end goal, and everyone likes to say global, but how many brands are really ready for the US market, the UK market? I mean, look at Vivo. They've done a fantastic job of taking their brand to the US. And Wandia is a very good friend of mine, kind of like a mentor. And I think she's just an amazing entrepreneur. And I think she really, me personally, and I know a lot of other entrepreneurs, gives me a lot of motivation to just be like, I don't think it's easy, and I don't think what she's done is easy. And I know the struggles that she's had to go through, but it's possible.
She's
just keep at it.
That's cool. And you've talked about mentorship, but earlier you talked about something that very few entrepreneurs here have talked about, which is having a board. I think it's only 1 or 2 so far.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
And you talked about a board member. What led you to setting up a board? What stage?
Yeah, I think it was, so when I, just backtracking a little bit, so when I made the move to move back to Kenya. At that time, I still had two partners, two co-founders, right? And I told them that, look, guys, I want to take this thing on. I want to do it full time. I'm going to move back to Kenya. Do you guys want to join me on that journey, or what do you guys want to do? Everyone is different, right? And I respect that. Some people want to focus on their careers. Maybe they want to do other things, travel. Fine, I respect that. So, and they respectfully told me that, look, we can't make that move to Kenya right now. We can't do this thing full time. We have to stay here in the UK. And we had an agreement of a buyout, and that buyout happened at that time. They're still good friends of mine. They're still shareholders. There's no grudges. But that was the time I took the business on full time. And so I went from having two guys with me that I can pick up the phone at any time and be like, guys, I'm thinking about this, like very high level strategy thinking. And they can give me their ideas, or we can sit on a Thursday evening at a pub in London and brainstorm and just talk. And I lost that, right? All of a sudden, I lost that. So then I started talking to another friend and networking. And one friend, I asked him if he would be interested in coming on as just an advisor and not an investor. I said, look, the goal is to raise money, but I need someone on my side who we can talk through, we can discuss things, and we can, take the business forward. And he came on board. He actually works in Keystone Park, but he's a very smart guy. He's in private equity. He knows business. He knows scaling. So he came on board, and then I just realized that, and it's a very not touchy, but it's a very interesting subject about board, because I've heard different opinions, right?
Okay.
I think board has been very good for the business in many, many ways. It's kept us on track. It's kept us going towards the right path. It's kept us in line, because people on your board have a lot of experience, right?
Yeah.
But there are places where sometimes you've lost that freedom of waking up one day and saying, you know what, I'm going to enter Tanzania. I'm going to do it tomorrow. Yeah, you lost that ability to just do that.
Yeah, that's
your
true.
board are like, hey, hang on.
Yeah.
Kenya is not profitable, right? Like, let's fix Kenya. Your supply chain is not great. You still have stockouts in your shops. Adding a new market is not going to solve your problem. It might sound fancy. I'm in Kenya, I'm in Tanzania.
Scaling your problems.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, scaling the wrong thing. Exactly. So I'm very grateful for my board personally. I have a lot of respect for each one of our board members, and I would suggest people who are in a similar position to look at getting a board in place. Yeah, definitely.
That's great. As we come towards a close, question would be, what do you know now about business that you wish you knew 3 years ago? And if you had a fresh slate, would you still do this, or do you venture into a different kind of business?
I know why you're asking that. What I know about business now is that I didn't know before was things take time. Be patient. Cash flow is very important. Cash flow is the key to having a successful business. So I didn't bother with cash flow back in the day. Like I've just started really focusing on cash flow, and it's helped a lot. So really, if I was to do this again, it would be
double click on what that means.
Cash flow. So cash flow is not, cash flow is not your profit per se, right? It's in a given month, how much money is in your bank versus and then how much money is leaving your bank, and the net of the two. And why I say in your bank and leaving your bank is because I could have 10 corporate clients, each worth $1 million each, 10 million of sales, of revenue in this month. But those 10 corporates are paying me in 60 days. But I still have to pay my salaries at the end of the month. I can't tell my staff, you know what, guys, those guys are still not paid me. Tulia, no. So cash flow is the corporates that I acquired maybe 2 months ago. They've paid me now this month. Okay, so that's the in that I'm. And it's a very simple way of doing it, right? You have your ins and you have your outs, and that's different from I've sent an invoice and I've acquired a customer. So that's key, I would say. Is to be honest, I think that is the number one lesson I've learned over the couple of years. And if I was to do this again, I honestly don't I think this will be very bad to say, but I don't know if I would do product and fashion again.
Okay.
Look, don't get me wrong. I love Kitu Kali. It's my, my passion, my heart, my soul.
Yeah.
It's everything I do. But if I had to start again for whatever reason, I just might not do it. I would go into what you guys are doing, tech, VC backed tech. You know, I would probably do something, because I don't think it's easier by any means. I think it's even harder what you guys are doing, and mad respect for that. But I think there is a lot of scope in tech than there is in retail. But we're here now, and I'm 150% determined to take this business to success.
Yeah.
And let's just hope I don't have to start again, because we've reached far. Yeah.
Cool. I think as we close now, just one for our international audience, what does Kitu Kali mean? And just how can we be able to find you?
Yeah, sure. Kitu Kali is hot stuff. So hot stuff in Kenya is could mean very, very different things. You know, so spicy food can be Kitu Kali. Alcohol can be Kitu Kali. But our brand is Kitu Kali because it's obviously a Swahili phrase. And we're very authentically African. Everything we do, all our products have a hint of African fabric. And that's what we stand for. So we're Kitu Kali. And kitukali.com, KITUKALI, at Kitu Kali on Instagram. That's us.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. And Kush, just so good to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, definitely.
And champions, please subscribe to this and check out Kitu Kali. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
That's the pod.
Cheers.
Thank you.